Hey, how's it going, everyone? I'm going to do a video on about 10 minutes or so responding to comments, that were made about me at the end of Good Servant's most recent Raw Talk. And so this is just for educational purposes. There's no real beef or anything here. It's just learning about the Bible and other people's positions. And then all I can do is present my position, and then people can freely, choose whatever they want, or one of these positions or something else. And so that's all I can do fundamentally. And that has an end date. I'm looking forward to it, for me, to be honest, next month. But, just in the meantime, this is a good way to learn and just kind of clarify the situation. So it's inevitable with someone like me, the things that I believe, that if the Bible is true, there's 5 or 10 other things that I know are true after that. It's just the Bible needs to be true. And we don't know that until the end times manifest, the way that it's prophesied. And so even technically Jesus Christ doesn't know, because he does not know the timing of his own return. So if the Most High does not tell him to return, then the Bible, the way we have it, is not true. And so it's for the Most High, and the Creator, the Father, the Heavenly Father, to do the things that he said that he's going to do. Using Christ, and then also, his angels and the elect. And so that's a wait and see. Again, every reason in the world to to know that it's true. It's not funny, but it's just overwhelmingly obvious. And so these debates are good. These dialogues are important because we're close, to know whether the Bible is true or not in an absolute sense, in a definitive sense. And so if it's not already for certain people. So getting into the weeds, the details, is very, very important. So, I have a particular stance on salvation and hell, and, I've done videos on this in the past. I've re-uploaded some recently just to add a little bit, of, more recent insights, I guess. But for the most part, my position is exactly the same as what I've already presented on both of those. I have even more reason, if you look sort of my channel over time, when I present a topic now, like when I presented reincarnation in the past, I could present way more evidence. And then if I presented Earth is hell, I could present way more evidence, a lot of it in real life. And so that's the cool thing about the Bible for me personally, is that if I look back at some of my older videos, I could, double the length of them and make them even more concrete for me personally. And so that's exciting for me. I'm moving to a place of more and more security of my beliefs, but insecurity in the sense that this world looks like it's falling apart. And so I'm mostly worried at this point now is, does God actually have enough time to accomplish the things that he says he's going to do to Mystery Babylon in the end times, when America is like literally crumbling before my eyes? So my prediction of, America falling by the end of 2023, I'm more worried that it's going to happen before that at this point. And so I don't want to say it's a good problem to have. It's scary because I live here in America, but the God of the Bible is running out of time, whether you take my stance on the end times or not. Because if America crumbles, then the rest of the world falls immediately, because we're the people that buy everything. And that's Bible prophecy, and we'll talk about here in Revelation 17 and 18. And so the world's hanging by a thread. And so knowing these things about the Bible is very, very important, for people who are looking to the God of the Bible for refuge and salvation, in these last days. So, this is academic, nothing personal. I'm assuming I'll never be allowed on their show. I think some of my videos now are private, but, they knew what I believe. I mean, these are not new ideas that I just posted in the last couple of days. I have hundreds of videos on my channel, and, I've been teaching this from the get-go. I haven't changed any of my theological points, over time, which is the thing that I'm very, very thankful for, is that I've always been able to add, and that's exciting for me, is that I don't want to have to teach things and then be wrong, that not in this arena. In everything else, science and all that, it's totally fine. But when it comes to prophecy and other people's spiritual lives, that's not what I'm into. So that's why I have to cut my prophesying short at the end of next month, either way, because if I'm wrong, I don't want to continue to be wrong more. And so I have a sort of unified understanding of the Bible and Revelation. And so I can't push that for like 5 years and be wrong. That's just my own personality. And I believe, obviously, God made all of us. So that's my mindset. And so, that's my position, but at the same time, I don't want people to think that I'm insecure. I've gone through the Bible, and it's very, very clear. The timeline that I present is very, very obvious, from the beginning to the end, not just in the book of Revelation, that God's elect, my people are taken away. Then there's a 1260-day period of great tribulation with the two witnesses administering plagues on the earth. And then Christ returns to essentially just clean up his left-hand side. Everybody at that point will have the mark of the beast. And that's the God's final wrath. And then he establishes the kingdom of heaven on earth. And so that's a sequence. And that's, again, very, very obvious to me from beginning to end in the Bible, and it makes sense in real life. Just using common sense, that's the way it would be, that God kind of turns up the temperature kind of gradually, but he can't do it for like 10 or 15 years. He can't spread it out that long, because we can barely, a lot of people are just not paying their rent right now in America. And so there's no way any large groups of people could withstand too much, increase in pressure, on earth. And so let's listen to what they have to say. The background is that, we have a difference on hell and salvation fundamentally. And so good servant, he's unsure at this point where hell is. I'm absolutely certain. And again, like I said, the confidence that this is hell is growing with these interactions and every single day. And I know that it's in this realm, where Christ was crucified. And I know that salvation is a term that is specific to the end times. And so that doesn't mean that a person in the past, goes to hell, where these people think probably that it's somewhere that's not here on earth. Because once you do put hell here, it becomes a more important truth than the flat earth, and then the whole Bible makes sense, actually. It unlocks many, many things about the Bible. And so, but then you have to throw Satan under the bus, because Satan runs this place, and has been for a while. And so that's the issue with these people, for a lot of people. But it's kind of funny, though. I find it interesting that even like other people that I've talked to, like, some in my family who are Hindu, they, we've had sort of casual conversations where like, oh man, this is hell, and like, there's a lot of people who are not Christian and not religious who will say that this is hell, but the Christians for some reason don't want to acknowledge this place is hell when their very quote own savior died here. So I want people to know this is the world that we live in. So the Christians, and I put Christians in quotes, are the most demonic spirits here on earth, because they're gatekeeping the truth, and they hate the God that they're actually claiming to worship and looking to save them. So that's the world that we live in. And so, but those are the two kind of back and forths. And so, we just kind of agreed to disagree. And then for some strange reason, good servant kept asking me to just send him an audio through Skype that, Christ came in the flesh. Like, that'll make him feel better. This whole time, my stomach is turning, because I'm talking to somebody that I know doesn't care about the Bible and like what it actually says. And so I was like, I actually sort of played along with him. I'm like, all right, if you change your avatar, because, I'll put a picture, you'll see the link to his video. I'll put it below. His avatar is him and Tom with, two hands behind them, which is meant to be Christ. And Christ is like pale as can be, like nowhere near the complexion that my skin and darker definitely is what Christ was in the Bible, and I'll link that video below where I prove that in many, many verses and just using common sense. And so, I told him, if you change the avatar, then I'll do that. And so I was just kind of playing along with him, because he's just out of his mind, like no one has a debate and then to ask for an audio file to be sent, as if I don't believe that Christ came in the flesh. When I've been posting videos for 3 years, I have like 500 or 600 videos. That's not, a big pain for me. That's an encouragement for me. That's why I do it, as a form of getting my thoughts out there. But that's nonsense, and so I'm like, that's not a good way to test a spirit, man. That's nonsense. That's idiotic. And so, but I was like, whatever, we can do 50-50, be fair. You change your avatar, and don't crucify Christ again. That's what these people are doing. The Bible says that in the end times, Christ will be spiritually crucified and focus here in America, which is the seat of Satan, spiritually Sodom and Egypt, mystery Babylon. And that's how. So Christ spends all this effort getting brutalized by his own people for the sins of his people. And his flesh gets ripped, and nail spikes get put through his body. And then now in modern day, these people are too busy, don't want to honor that God, his flesh, in a simple avatar, And so even Call for an Uprising, who we obviously know is a limited scripter, his opening intro has Christ as a dark-skinned man. And he's not even a flat earther. And he talks about America being Babylon regularly, like he won't say it explicitly, like he won't go through all the verses and stuff, which a Christian channel should. But he talks about America and Babylon, like, oh, this is Babylon and all that. And even Jeff Berwick, who's, a functional atheist, he talks about how evil America is. So we'll hear in this thing that, that these people for some reason are confused about that and want to hear audio files of a person that they don't know personally say that Christ came in the flesh, which is obvious. Like lots of other religions, even non-religious people will admit that. But they're not allowed to talk about, and for some reason don't honor God in their own avatar, which is satanic and demonic. And, for some reason, Christ being dark-skinned is taboo. And so for people to know this is the real reason, I know this now, this is obvious because I've tested it everywhere and it's not funny, but I have a weird form of humor behind this because that's the only thing that can I sort of maintain my sanity, because it's just so off. Like it's just literally people you have to like read them things, adults. And so, yeah, it's just what it is, I just gotta laugh, I guess. America being Mystery Babylon is incredibly obvious in the Bible and possibly like Trump literally, pardon the pun, completely by what's going on in the world right now. Like you could ask anybody flat out in the world, just however many person thinks is on the earth right now, what is the most evil, nation on earth right now? What's the major poll going to come out to be? Ask all the people in the Middle East who they're being told, Saudi Arabia did 9/11 and all this. They're being blamed on for everything. China's the axis of evil. They don't care about freedom like we do. I mean, a majority of the world, possibly even 90% or more, would say it's America. So if there's an absurd amount of consensus in that's probably true. Like Christians and non-Christians, really everybody. So that means that that the real core of the evil on earth is known to a majority of the world. So why do these people not know? And so let's take a look what they got to say.
He doesn't have an original thought. It's all parroting. I mean, just...
The irony is that they start off this little bit talking about other people who are parroting, like on Oakley's channel and stuff like that. So there's a tremendous amount of irony.
Like you were a parrot.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, my favorite, I love that you guys have been having Shirek on.
Shout out to Creation Bear Man. What's up, dude? Thanks for the shout out.
Is just amazing lately. I've been picking up a lot of things he's been putting down.
Well, see, like I'll tell you what about Shrek, man.
Let's just say I'm wrong. I talk about these things freely on Ranty's channel. It's not a religious channel; it's a flat earth channel. We talk about reincarnation, talk about Pete's Aristarchus. He doesn't censor us, kick us off, make videos private, and all that kind of stuff. Why are they? So I mean, we know what's going on. But once you bring absolute truths to Christians, they freak out. And then, so they have no choice but to like squirm.
And he's like, and I didn't want to really go into this until tomorrow, right? But he's a brilliant guy, right? And as far as truth comes and like the ball earth, I mean, brilliant. I mean, I haven't met very many people.
I want to actually correct that. We don't know if people are brilliant, by the way. We don't know if Rumpus is brilliant. We don't know if I'm brilliant, whatever. We just go on these hangouts just to like kill time. It's nothing super serious. Obviously, the truth is very, very important and we could impact people's lives, but we don't need to make these kind of statements, like this is just essentially to soften the blow, which is the actual truth that's about to come, that if what I teach is wrong on my channel, I'm not brilliant, I'm not honest, I'm incredibly deceptive. That's the reality of it. We got to call a spade a spade. If what I teach is incorrect, that means that the spirit that's been dialoguing with me to teach me these things is from God's left-hand side. So is that a brilliant person who falls for that? No, that's an idiot. That's a demon. And so I'm confident in what I teach, but I'm also very, very insecure of the fact that it could still be wrong. And so that is not a brilliant person. Just because you get a few points right here and there, that's not the way God works when it comes to this kind of stuff. In life, of course, that's overall, fundamentally, that's the way God works. like we can't have a perfect score because only God knows what the perfect would be. But he can declare other people perfect, and he has. But yeah, so, just we don't need to get into all that ever. It doesn't make sense. Don't do that in these days. No one should need that kind of compliment. Just, we got to say what it is.
Smarter than that in real life, but like we started having some in-depth Bible discussions that were really good, and he got me to think about some things that, like, even changed some of my deep-rooted beliefs, some of them, right? But
I'd be curious to know what that was.
he came out with a video the other day that said, I don't believe in salvation, and
So this is I want people to know this is a precursor to when the two witnesses are on the scene. This is what God's left-hand side will do to them. They'll just go and, like, CNN, Fox News, they'll look for little mistakes and then they'll just, like, blow it up and make them the enemy. That's what's going to happen, I'm certain. So that's what happens when truth is infused into lies. Either the lies convert to the truth or they start making up stuff, So I've never said I don't believe in salvation. I have multiple videos on salvation. I just rehashed those same ideas again recently with a bit more clarity. But that's crazy. I don't know what to say. Like, salvation is the only thing that to me matters at this point in my life, because it's the only hope that we have. We cannot go to anybody on earth to help us. We have to look up, and up is the God of the Bible. No other God or religion makes that, gives anybody that even hope that's possible. And so, I don't believe in his salvation is what he needs to say, and I hope he corrects it, just to be honest, which I'm not certain that any of these people are as we listen on. But whether he says it or not, it doesn't matter to me. It's just kind of funny. But absolutely, I did not say that. That's crazy, considering I have multiple videos that teach exactly what salvation is, and Christ says that it's not a faith-based thing or whatever. It's faith in Christ, of course, the real Christ, which we'll talk about in this video, the dark-skinned Christ that is not represented in their avatar. And it also requires enduring to the end. And then it also says in Revelation 18:4, it requires coming out of a place, this worldly structure, and in America in particular, and not being partakers of their sins. And so it's not just loving on God or whatever. It's something, it requires some amount of action as well.
Oh, I watched it.
yeah, and that bothers.
I want people to understand the real reason that the Christian church pushes that is because then the Bible can't come true. If the Christian church pushed the actual Bible and then, you have to be charitable, you have to do these kind of things, then we couldn't have the end times. That's the sinister part that I take exception to all the time with these people. That's what they're pushing, is just a purely faith-based, just get on these hangouts, just chit-chat, don't say anything too true or whatever. Don't say America's definitely Mystery Babylon. Don't say, Christ is black. Don't say those two things, because when those two things are combined together, where are the Jews? They're here in America. And then we know who they are then. That's why they're not allowed to say that. It's not a complicated thing. You don't need Deuteronomy. I will send them, his people onto cargo slave ships, in Egypt, which is also described as a mystery Babylon in the book of Revelation. And so we know who they are. Those verses just make it even more obvious, but we have to really play dumb, really interacting with these people. That's why they're not allowed to say it fundamentally, because once you say America's Mystery Babylon, and it's obvious, and you say that Christ is dark skinned, that means that America is the modern day Egypt. And so this is where the deliverance will come from. And then the Jews would be here. And then Christ would look like them, And so not exactly, but he would be dark skinned and look like the so-called Negroes, which are the biblical Jews, sent here as a form of punishment and judgment. And that's why all these race riots are popping off, because God's doing that, as a form of Jacob's trouble. And so that's just so people know. That's why they're not allowed to say that, because it would be easy to figure out after that.
Me, man, and so I was on the phone with him for 2 hours. Most Christians would just say forget it after that, right? After hearing that, oh no, I'm not messing with this guy, But I just wanted to give him every opportunity to see what I was saying about how important the gospel is, and how important Jesus is to the whole equation. But I couldn't get him to see it.
So I'm unsure about how important Jesus is to this whole equation when he has a white-skinned Christ on his avatar and just for some reason refuses to acknowledge that in any kind of serious way. When he says Christian, he's right. He is the Christian, and we don't want to be a part of these people, man. These 501c3, they don't know anything about the scriptures. They don't read the Bible. They're not allowed to link ideas. Their brains are just blocked. It's just comedy at this point. So that's a secret code word really at this point. If you say you're a Christian, that's an insult.
And but he got me to see other things that were true, you know, that were, you know, I wouldn't say hard to change, but things I haven't thought of or changed in a long time, like, you know, you America being Mystery Babylon. I'm pretty sure about that now.
Pretty sure? Really? It took me to tell you that. This is a person that's saved, claims to be saved, and knows salvation, which is one of the heaviest topics, really, to some extent, because you have to know the end, the book of Revelation. And so he's, you know, not sure, maybe. That's the focus of the deliverance in the end times, is the Mystery Babylon. So they're it's the same. I just want people to know this is kind of funny, but this is the same in the baller debate, you know, baller flat earth debate. Oakley talking in circles. Yeah, you know, you don't have a geometric R, you know, you don't, you know, they'll bring Rumpus and other people on because they're dancing with each other. They're on the same team. They'll never come to a conclusive end of their debate. You know, it always has to be left open, you know, and infinite looming or whatever. And this is the same thing with these people, is that you can never say definitively that America's Mystery Babylon because God's not dealing with them. You know, that's obvious to us. You know, that's, again, obvious to non-religious people, non-Christians, non-Bible people. You don't need the Bible to actually make that conclusion. The Bible just infinitely makes it obvious, you know. And it's really the same with the flat earth at this point, too. It's like, you don't need the Bible to tell you that, but the Bible is just the big, massive, you know, scoop of ice cream on top that just makes it supremely obvious that the earth is flat and stationary, and it's all by design, the deception. And so that's scary. And it's the same thing that I've done a video with Rob Skiba, who's just a moron. He claims to know the exact tribe that he's grafted in on, but he doesn't have any idea about anything else, you know, Mystery Babylon, you know, anything about the mark of the beast, anything about, you know, the sequence of the end times, or, you know, obviously not that Christ is black. He would never share that publicly. I'm assuming he knows that. And so, yeah, but he knows that for sure. That not only is he saved, but he knows the exact tribe that he's grafted into. So I just want people to know this is the same song and dance.
Oh, you know,
Right.
it's definitely a top candidate for sure, you know. But I would say that's dead on, you know. And,
what are the other candidates? Let's hear them.
And I was already kind of onto the whole Jesus had a darker skin color from like before I knew that, I mean, that was already out there, you know.
So he's been on it, but when he gets an image from somebody else that made it for him, he doesn't just, you know, honor that God, which he claims that he's saved by, with honoring his complexion. You know, instead it's like the lightest Jesus as humanly possible. And so I don't think Call for an Uprising had that originally. We had to make comments. You know, I'm sure it was not just me. He has like thousands of people that write comments, but I'm sure somebody put something, you know, and then he changed his Jesus. If you listen to and see his intro, it's dark, you know, it's very dark, and he has facial hair, which is what the Bible requires for Israelites. And so this is a token gesture, and so I just want people to know this is not a person who's proud of their God, you know, and is asking that God to rescue them. You know, we have to know that God, a lot about him, if we plan to be rescued by him. You know, what kind of vehicle, if you again, here an earthly example to simplify it, if you're waiting for a ride, you got to know, you know, the person that's going to come pick you up, the car that they're driving, and what time they're supposed to be roughly, you know, so you can go wait in advance. We, you know, in earthly sense, we would know that. So we're not going in the car with somebody who's evil and going to drive us away and then do something evil to us. So we would need to know those three basic things. So how is that any different in the times that we live in now? What Christ looks like, what kind of vehicle he'll be returning in, and then roughly what time period. And so these people don't have a clue about either of these three, which is mad funny. So they know that they're saved, but, you know, they'll crucify Christ again with light-skinned Jesus in their avatar. So hopefully it's pretty obvious to people what's going on.
So I was already on that trick, but when he said that about salvation, that's hard for me to get over, and I tried to get him to see it, but then, like, you know, we had, you know, I don't know, it wasn't an argument, but it was kind of contentious, which that's good when you discuss the Bible, even if you're friends, you know. But like,
we're not friends. Like, this is not to be rude to him, but I don't know this person like in any personal way, and never will, any of these people really. And so this is just academic for the handful of people that follow my channel and are into the Bible for real. And so, you know, he keeps saying like, I'm nice, why are you being mean to me? I'm like, dude, this is not an issue of whether you're nice or not nice. There's nothing to do with that. I don't know these people, you know, like like, for example, just to use Pete Shane as an example, I don't know what Pete's like in his personal life, but I don't have anything personally against PJ. I just use things that he says to, you know, talk about the Bible, you know, and spiritual points. And the same thing with Jaron. You know, I don't know if anything about him personally. He doesn't seem actually that bad of a person in day-to-day life. Tries to help people, warn people, and wake people up. But the God of the Bible hates him. And so that doesn't mean that I hate him with the same fervor or anything like that. So it's not like that, you know, it's nothing like that. And so, but something to think about, if the God of the Bible hates Jaron the way he is right now, and Jaron is way ahead of a lot of the Christian church, these 501c3 people, who's left? Just something to think about.
I don't know if I can get past that, you know? I don't know if I can get past that, him not being able to accept it. I mean, being saved is an actual thing, you know, and the reason you have confidence is not because you're arrogant in yourself, it's because you're confident in that sacrifice. And he was leaving all that out, you know, and I didn't.
No, I added to it in the sense that it's the sacrifice plus its endurance and plus its, you know, abstaining from sins. That's what we're told. And then, you know, your righteousness has to exceed the scribes and the Pharisees. And I told him that. And not telling somebody that is misleading them, because then it's just, you know, how strongly you believe or whatever, which is the same nonsense we've heard from really all Christians, flat earthers or non. So they're just pushing the same narrative, and it's very, very evil. It's very, very dangerous because it's not in the Bible. And so the God of the Bible absolutely cares about the things that we do, and he absolutely cares the way he's represented. And so if somebody goes into Steve's house and sees a picture of, like, you know, let's say his dad is up on the wall, and but let's say it's digital where he can like play around with the colors and stuff, and then let's say that person photoshops and changes the picture of his own dad, his real life dad. You don't think he would get upset? You know, like, no, whatever, who cares, you know, just leave it like that, you know, just honor my dad with whatever color. And so, you know, I've asked him many, many times to change his avatar to reflect, you know, who Christ, what he actually looks like according to the Bible. Maybe, possibly, I'll get around to it. Somebody else did it. And so I want people to know these people hate God, you know, and so they're honoring Satan. Anything that is not the actual God of the Bible is Antichrist and is Satan. And that's actually another point that we'll talk about the Antichrist here.
You know why? It was bothering me.
Okay. I mean, maybe that's one good thing about this community is I know, you know, my name's Creation Bear, and obviously that comes from Owen Benjamin and that crowd.
Yeah.
And I know Shrek I don't think he's a huge fan of Owen. So, I mean, and it's not like...
Not at all.
Like when I saw that video he posted something about Owen, it just made me take a seat back and, you know, respect other people's views. You know, he might have a certain aperture that I don't have. So let me take a look through his and appreciate it. I like you guys. I like him. I like Owen. So, like you said, meat and bones, take what you can.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I do like him, like probably more than most people. Every time we've had him on the show, it was always twice as long of a show. You know?
I know, right?
Yeah, it always went long.
It's obvious because I have multiple videos, but Owen Benjamin is kind of a caricature of the Christian church, and God is using that for us to just laugh at, and that's stupid, that anybody would take that kind of a person seriously. He doesn't know anything about the Bible, but just rants about stupid things, and then getting his hair cut while he's like, you know, ranting and raving for hours about absolutely nothing. So that's essentially like who they worship, you know, and that's their kind of figurehead, not the actual Christ of the Bible. And I want people to know that that's very, very obvious, and you know, that's stupid to fall into that trap, you know, in these days. So I'm going to stop this and do a part 2 because it's getting close to 30 minutes, but I'll be right back.